Did you know that some of the most powerful male voices in music history belong to people who were actually born female but lived their lives as men? Society tried to erase them, shame them, and silence them. But they kept singing. They were bold, brave, and unforgettable. These are 14 black musicians who were secretly born female. 1. Laith Ashley. Laith Ashley is the kind of guy who makes people stop and stare, not just because he looks like a walking magazine cover, but because of the way he owns every part of who he is. Model, actor, singer, and full-on heartbreaker, Laith isn't trying to blend in. He's here to flip the whole system. But what really makes him stand out? He's a proud black and Latino trans man who sings, struts, and speaks like he's got nothing to hide. And he doesn't. Born in Harlem to a Dominican family, Laith grew up in a world that had rules. Rules about gender, rules about beauty, rules about who gets to be heard. He spent his early years deep in sports and school, but there was something bubbling under the surface, something that didn't feel right. That itch to be himself wouldn't go away. When he hit his 20s, he started his transition, and that's when everything began to change. You'd think working as a social worker would be enough for most people, but not for Laith. He started posting online, and boom, people noticed. He wasn't hiding anymore. Modeling gigs started rolling in, runways, major brands, magazine covers. He broke through the fashion world like a wrecking ball, smashing all those tired ideas about what a man should look like. He wasn't just that trans guy, he was a star, and he wasn't finished making noise. On top of all that, Laith had music in his blood. He grew up listening to everything, soul, R&B, pop, and more. He didn't just want to be seen, he wanted to be heard. His songs started pouring out, all smooth vocals and deep feelings. His lyrics talked about love, heartbreak, and being real in a world full of fake. And yeah, they were hot too, because Laith doesn't hide the fire inside him. He put out a single that was slick and slow, full of confidence, and it hit hard. People wanted more, and they got it, but not just the music. What made his music even more powerful was the fact that it came with a message. His songs weren't just beats and vibes, they were his life. He didn't whisper about his identity. He sang it out loud. Every music video, every line was a reminder. This is what a trans man looks like. This is what strength looks like. This is what confidence looks like. No shame, no fear, just truth. But Laith didn't stop with singing or modeling. He became a loud, proud voice for trans people of color. Every interview, every post, he used his spotlight to shine on others. He talked about racism, gender, and being stuck in the middle of both. He didn't sugarcoat it. He told the hard truths. He made people uncomfortable, and he made people think. While others were chasing likes, Laith was chasing change. And if you thought Laith's confidence was bold, wait until you meet the rapper who turned pain into poetry and never blinked. 2nd J. Mays, 3. J. Mace III doesn't just speak, he slices through silence. Poet, rapper, educator, and all-around disruptor, J. Mays is what happens when you mix a preacher, a punk, and a professor. You don't listen to him, you experience him. Whether he's spitting verses or writing essays, his words hit deep, and they don't let go, because he's not here to play nice. Born in Philly, now repping Seattle, J. Mace lives right at the intersection of black, queer, and trans. And he doesn't hide any part of that. He uses his voice to rip down lies, lift up the truth, and make space for people like him, people who the world often ignores. His art? It's bold, it's loud, it's sometimes funny, sometimes heartbreaking, but it always hits where it hurts and where it heals. And then there's the music. His style mixes poetry and hip-hop with history and faith. It's not just about sounding cool, it's about saying what others are too scared to say. One minute, he's calling out racism. The next, he's talking about God, grief, or how it feels to be fired for simply existing. He dropped an album that wasn't just music. It was a lesson, a fight, a love letter, and a warning all wrapped into one. And trust me, he didn't stop there. J. Mace also started a talent agency just for trans and non-conforming people of color. because he knew no one else was going to do it. He shows up in classrooms, conferences, and churches. He writes books with titles that make people raise their eyebrows. He teaches people how to talk about race, gender, and faith without sounding clueless or fake. He's not just educating, he's shaking people awake. And then there's his faith. Yeah, he went there too. A lot of people think you can't be queer, trans, and Christian at the same time. Jay Mays shuts that down fast. He talks openly about his spiritual life, even when it's complicated. He pushes back on hate-filled religion and gives people a better way to believe, one that includes everyone. His work isn't about guilt or shame, it's about building something better with love and truth at the center. And just when you think no one else could possibly be this bold, in walks a non-binary opera singer rewriting every rule of music and identity. Third, Shay Diamond. Shay Diamond doesn't just sing, she tells the world exactly who she is, loud and clear. Her voice is strong, rough, and beautiful, like it's been through a storm and came out stronger. She didn't get here the easy way. Her road was full of hurt, rejection, prison, and fighting every single day just to be seen. But somehow, through all of that, she never lost her fire. If anything, it made her burn even brighter. She grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, a place that didn't know what to do with a black trans girl like her. People didn't understand her. They didn't want to try. But Shay always knew who she was, deep down. She knew she had a voice that could shake the sky. And even when the world ignored her, she kept singing. Even in prison, locked away in a system that didn't care about her identity, she kept writing, kept dreaming. And that's where her first big song came from. She wrote, "I Am Her Behind Bars," a powerful anthem about owning who you are. That song wasn't just music, it was a battle cry, a lifeline, a message to every trans girl who had ever been told she wasn't enough. The lyrics hit hard. They said, "I see you, I am you." And people felt it. Because Shay wasn't just performing, she was surviving, and she made sure others knew they could survive too. Her voice, it's like thunder mixed with gospel. It grabs you, holds you, makes you listen. She sings about real things: poverty, racism, being ignored, being pushed to the side. She sings about walking into a room and being told you don't belong, but she makes space with her voice. She takes everything the world threw at her and turns it into sound, into strength. And once you hear her, you don't forget her. Shay didn't water down her message for fame. She didn't play nice to fit in. She stood tall, sang loud, and told the truth. Her songs weren't made in some big studio full of people who never struggled. They were made in her heart, in prison cells, in pain, in power. She turned scars into music, and she's still doing it. Because her voice, it's not done shaking things up yet. 4. Star Amarasu. Star Amarasu, better known as Ahmer Asu, doesn't wait for anyone to give her a stage. She builds her own world and invites you in. And once you step in, you don't want to leave. Her music isn't just sound, it's light, emotion, and truth all mixed together. She's soft but strong, gentle but loud in her own way. She doesn't need to shout to be heard because her songs do the shouting for her. She grew up in Oakland, California, a city full of art and fight. But even in that creative place, being black and trans wasn't easy. Star had to fight for every peaceful moment, every smile, every bit of joy. And that fight became part of her music. Music helped her stay alive. It helped her breathe. It helped her make sense of a world that kept trying to silence her. Her sound, totally her own. She mixes electronic beats with soft singing. Her music feels like stars falling or dreams rising. It's glitchy, weird, perfect. Sometimes her songs feel like crying. Sometimes they feel like flying. Her lyrics talk about being different, being brave, and finding joy even when everything hurts. She shows us that it's okay to feel everything at once: pain, hope, love, fear. And her shows, there's something else. Whether she's on a tiny stage or a huge one, she makes the whole room feel like home. The lights, the music, the feeling. It's like walking into a dream that finally makes sense. She sings for the weird kids, the queer kids, the black kids, the ones who never fit in. And under those lights, for just a moment, they all feel like they belong. And just when you think she's done growing, she goes even deeper. 5. Honey Dijon. Honey Dijon isn't just a DJ, she's a movement in heels. She grew up in Chicago, the birthplace of house music, where beats weren't just for dancing, they were for survival. And Honey? She took those beats and turned them into magic, into power, into a space where people could be exactly who they are, even when the world told her not to. As a black trans woman, the music world didn't roll out the red carpet for her. It tried to ignore her, tried to keep her out of the very culture her people created. But Honey didn't wait for permission. She brought her records, turned the volume way up, and made the dance floor her kingdom. And when she plays, people don't just dance, they transform. Her sets are wild, emotional, electric. The crowd moves like one body, shedding all the shame and fear they carry around every day. Her beats mix soul, funk, techno, and that hard-to-name feeling of being finally completely free. When Honey's behind the decks, she doesn't just make music, she creates safe spaces, utopias, tiny moments where nobody has to hide. And she always brings her people with her. She didn't stop at clubs either. She helped shape Beyoncé's Renaissance album, bringing house music and black trans brilliance back into the spotlight. Her own album, Black Girl Magic, isn't just songs. It's a love letter to her people. Every beat says, "You're beautiful, you're strong, you're not going anywhere." And even with all the fame, the tours, the glitter, Honey hasn't forgotten why she started. She knows the fight's not over. She still speaks out, still creates space for others, still spins tracks that tell the world, "We're here, we've always been here, and we're not going anywhere." She DJs at the biggest festivals in the world, but she always makes sure there's room for the next black trans girl with a dream and a beat in her heart. And Honey Dijon, she's just getting started. 6. Jackie Shane. Jackie Shane didn't just sing soul, she was soul. Her voice wasn't just beautiful, it was a whole feeling, smooth and powerful, like warm honey with fire underneath. Born in Nashville in 1940, Jackie was a black trans woman in a time when people didn't even have the words to describe someone like her. But Jackie didn't wait for the world to understand her. She just lived, fully, loudly, and fabulously. And she didn't care who couldn't handle it. Back in the 1950s and 60s, being black, visibly different, and gender nonconforming was straight up dangerous. But Jackie didn't hide. She wore sparkly dresses, full makeup, and owned every stage she stood on. She walked into the spotlight like it belonged to her, because it did. She had confidence, style, and a voice that made crowds freeze in awe. And her shows? They weren't just concerts, they were messages. And Jackie delivered them with pride. She moved to Canada in the early 60s, where she shook up Toronto's music scene. Clubs went wild for her. Her voice told stories, stories about pain, love, freedom, and owning who you are. When she performed the song Any Other Way, she didn't just sing it, she talked to the crowd. "I'm a man if I want to be. I'm a woman if I want to be. I'm Jackie." She said it with power, with truth, with no apologies. And people either got on board or got left behind. Jackie's voice had grit and grace, and just when the world started listening again, Jackie quietly passed away in 2019. But her story didn't end there, because Jackie Shane's voice still echoes, her truth still inspires. And once you've heard her, you never forget her. 7. Mykki Blanco. Mykki Blanco doesn't walk into a room, they explode into it. Black, queer, gender nonconforming, and living with HIV, Mykki is pure fire. They rap, write poetry, do fashion, make wild art, and they do all of it without holding back. They're loud, they're smart, and they don't care about rules, because they're too busy breaking them. Born Michael Quattlebaum Jr., Mykki grew up in California and North Carolina. Life wasn't easy. People didn't get him. Some didn't want to, but instead of hiding, Miki turned their pain into art. Their music mixes hip-hop, punk, and crazy electronic beats. It's messy, it's bold, it's beautiful, it's Miki, and it hits like a punch and a hug. Their lyrics are raw, real. They talk about what it's like to be different in a world that wants everyone the same. They rap about being black, queer, HIV positive, and proud. Their songs don't ask for sympathy. They don't beg to be liked. They demand respect. Every line is sharp, smart, and brave. And when they perform, it's total chaos, in the best way. Miki doesn't just sing or rap. They perform, they scream, they dance. They make the audience feel everything: fear, joy, confusion, hope. They push people to think. They don't want you to be comfortable. They want you to wake up. And once you see them live, you're changed. Just when you think you figured them out, they switch it up again. 8. Key Dash. Key Dash doesn't rap to impress you, she raps to remind you who she is. Every bar, every line, every beat is fierce, loud, sharp, unstoppable. She's a black trans woman from the Bronx, and she's not here to play nice. She's here to take up space, tell her story, and flip the script on hip-hop. And she does it without flinching. Growing up in New York City, Key had to fight for everything: her identity, her safety, her voice. But she found her weapon: music. Her sound is hard-hitting hip-hop mixed with trap energy. It's bold, gritty, and real. No filters, no sweet talk. Just truth, survival, and swagger. And her lyrics? They don't ask for respect, they take it. She spits about poverty, transphobia, being hated and desired at the same time, and what it means to stay standing. She's not afraid of anyone. She doesn't wait for people to get comfortable. She makes you face the truth, even if it stings. Because Key Dash didn't come to play, she came to slay. Whether it's a small underground show or a massive stage, she brings the same fire. She walks in, grabs the mic, and makes the whole place hers. Her energy doesn't change. Her message doesn't soften. She's here, and she's not leaving. And her tracks? They're battle cries. Just when people think they've seen all she's got, she drops another bombshell. 9. La Femme Bear. La Femme Bear doesn't just make music, she drops sonic bombs that shake your chest and open your eyes. When she hits play, the room doesn't just move. You do. Every beat she creates comes packed with fire, like she's setting the world on notice. She's not just trying to get your head nodding, she's trying to break walls down. She's trying to build something real, brick by bass-thumping brick. This isn't some feel-good pop playlist filler. Nah. La Femme Bear's music has layers. There's dirt, pain, joy, and power buried in every drop. And she knows exactly what she's doing. She's a black trans woman in a world that still pretends people like her don't exist. But she's not asking for space, she's taking it. And her sound. It's not watered down for anyone. It's raw, loud, and proud. And if you thought she was doing it for fame, think again. She's not here to be the only one at the top. She's pulling other queer and trans artists up with her. Behind the scenes, she's producing for others, giving them the same power she's carved out for herself. She doesn't just want her voice heard, she wants a whole choir of voices blasting through the speakers. And when that bass drops, it's not just about rhythm, it's a message: we're still here, and you're gonna feel us. She blends deep, thunder-like beats with dreamy synths and haunting vocals that stick with you. 10. Wilmer Little Axe Broadnax. Wilmer Little Axe Broadnax didn't need flashy outfits or auto-tune to move people. All he needed was his voice. And what a voice it was. Sweet but strong, calm but full of fire. It had that old-school gospel power, the kind that made folks cry, shout, or just sit stunned in silence. But what nobody knew, not really, was that Little Axe was carrying a secret that could have ended everything. He was a black trans man living in a time when being openly trans was basically a death sentence. Born sometime in the early 1900s in Texas, Wilmer grew up in a world full of rules he didn't fit into. Back then, even whispering about gender identity could destroy your life. But Wilmer didn't wait for the world to understand him. He just was. He stepped onto gospel stages, sharp suit and all, and sang like he had nothing left to lose. And maybe he didn't. He sang with quartets that became legends, the Spirit of Memphis, the Five Trumpets. And wherever he went, people remembered that voice. It didn't just hit notes, it hit nerves. His tenor could shake a whole church or calm it in a heartbeat. The gospel themes, hope, redemption, survival, they weren't just lyrics to him. They were his life. Every word he sang was one more breath of truth in a world trying to erase him. And the truth? It didn't come out until after he died. Yep. It wasn't until gospel historians started digging, asking questions, piecing together stories, that the world found out. Wilmer Broadnax was a trans man who had lived, sung, and fought through a time that didn't want him to exist. And he didn't just exist, he thrived. In the middle of the black church, in the most conservative music space you could imagine, he carved out a place where nobody thought he could. That's not just courage, that's legend. And now, when you go back and listen to those old recordings, when you hear his voice rise over the harmony, something hits different. 11th. Beverly Glenn Copeland. Beverly Glenn Copeland's music doesn't just sound nice, it moves like it's alive. It doesn't yell, but it says something deep, something ancient, and something from the future, too. For years, he made music that felt like it was from another planet. It was so far ahead of its time, most people didn't even notice it. But like a secret finally getting out, the world couldn't ignore it forever. And when people finally heard it, it felt like they were hearing magic. He was born in Philly and ended up in Canada, one of the few black students in a fancy classical music school in the 60s. Imagine that, being in a place where almost no one looked like you or thought like you. While others were into Mozart and rules, Glenn Copeland was daydreaming about stars, aliens, and sci-fi stuff. That mix, music and outer space, started to show up in the way he made songs. His tracks weren't just tunes, they were like floating through a dream. Strange, warm, and honest. And then he made something wild. He recorded a tape in the 80s using some old-school electronic gear. It was a mix of quiet folk, soft beats, weird sounds, and feelings that hit deep. But barely anyone heard it. He made a few copies on cassette, gave them out, and that was it. No fame, no spotlight. He went on with life, quiet and calm, with his music hidden like a treasure. 12th, Shamir. Shamir doesn't just break the rules, he sets them on fire and walks right through the ashes. With a voice that sounds like it's from another world and a sound that's always changing, Shamir makes sure nobody can put him in a box. Pop, punk, country, electronic, you name it, he's tried it, flipped it, and made it his own. He's not waiting for anyone to get it. He's already moved on to the next weird, cool thing. And he started doing all this when he was just a kid. Growing up in Las Vegas, where everything feels a little strange anyway, Shamir taught himself to play guitar and started writing wild, honest songs. He was loud, different, and totally okay with not fitting in. His first songs blew up fast. He went from the bedroom to the stage fast. But as soon as the music world tried to clean him up and turn him into a polished pop product, he said, nah, and hit the brakes. Shamir chose the hard road. As a black, non-binary artist, he's been pushed and pulled in every direction, but instead of giving in, he made weirder music, louder sounds, and lyrics that cut deep. When people wanted him to be sweet and neat, he gave them messy and real. His albums are full of thoughts, feelings, and chaos. Some songs sound like joy, others like pain, but they all sound like truth. Shamir's truth. He sings about stuff people don't always talk about, feeling lost, mental health, being too different for this world. But that's what makes him matter. He's not just singing for himself, he's singing for every kid who felt too weird to belong. But Shamir's not done yet. He's about to flip the script all over again. 13. Lynn Breedlove. Lynn Breedlove didn't want to play it safe. He wanted to play it loud, raw, and queer as hell. As the frontman of the loud and wild band Tribe 8, he came in screaming and never really stopped. He made punk music dangerous again, and not just for fun. He wanted people to feel uncomfortable, to think, to wake up. Shirtless, fearless, and loud, Lynn wasn't here to entertain. He was here to shake stuff up. He wasn't just singing, he was starting fights, in a good way. Back in the 90s, coming out of San Francisco, Tribe 8 was fire. With Lynn leading the charge, they were like a live protest with guitars. The music, rough and dirty. The message, even louder. They shouted about things no one else would dare say: queer sex, being trans, the violence in being different, and taking pride in all of it. People didn't know what hit them. And if you were in the crowd, you either left angry or changed. Lynn didn't care about fame. He cared about the truth. He was a trans man before most people even knew what that meant. And he brought that fire into every lyric, every show. His words were funny, sharp, painful, and way too real. He didn't care if you were ready. He brought the fight to your front door. And even after the band slowed down, Lynn didn't. He kept writing, kept performing, kept telling stories that mattered. He proved that punk could be more than angry noise. It could be a tool for freedom. And just when people thought he'd quiet down, Lynn took that fire somewhere new. 14. Casey Ortiz. Casey Ortiz doesn't need anyone's approval. She doesn't ask. She walks in, mic in hand, and spits bars like bullets, fast, sharp, and full of fire. Born in Chicago, she knows how to survive, and her music shows it. She's a black trans woman in hip-hop, and instead of waiting for a chance, she made her own. Casey isn't just part of the scene, she's building a whole new one, and she's not slowing down for anyone. Hip-hop has never been easy on women, and even harder on trans women. But Casey came in with no fear. Her words hit hard, her voice is strong, and her message is clear. She's here, she's real, and she's not going away. Her songs feel like letters from the front lines of a life full of struggle and beauty. She raps about what it means to be black, to be trans, to be a woman, and to still stand tall. She raps with purpose. Casey isn't just making music, she's talking about real stuff. She's bringing the pain, the love, the fight. She's giving a voice to people who feel like they have none. And when she raps, you listen. Not just because the beat slaps, but because she's telling you something that matters. She's not trying to fit in. She's carving her own space out of stone. Casey Ortiz is proof that talent plus truth equals power.